Hollywood's most glamorous women weren't always what they seemed, especially when Frank Sinatra's legendary nose got a backstage pass. They say Frank Sinatra had two obsessions: the perfect voice and absolute cleanliness. The chairman of the board showered 4 times a day and always smelled of fresh lavender. Ironically, the women who passed through his life weren't always so fragrant. Before he died, Frank left behind tragicomic tales of 5 superstars whose personal habits gave his aristocratic nose some truly traumatic experiences. These were sex symbols who ate greasy fried chicken in bed, screen queens whose rooms smelled of cats, cheap perfume, and chaos, a genius whose chemical-laden sweat filled the air, and a young wife who proudly sported dirty bare feet in the name of hippie freedom. Take a deep breath. Frank Sinatra is about to lead you into Hollywood's stinkiest bedrooms, exposing the private hygiene habits of the most beautiful women the world ever dreamed of. Shelley Winters, chaos in the air. If Marilyn Monroe represented carelessness, and Judy Garland the scent of illness, Shelley Winters was chaos by choice. She smelled not from neglect or disease, but from principle. An Oscar-winning actress, Shelley was a method actor devoted to raw realism. Frank Sinatra, always crisp and polished, saw her philosophy as an attack. He believed stars should exude dreams and perfection. Shelley believed in the naked truth, including refusing deodorant or perfume. In the mid-50s, they had a fateful encounter. Shelley later recalled a one-night stand with Frank, praising him as a polite lover. Frank's memory was less poetic. Imagine this: Frank, after meticulous grooming and hours in cologne, expected a classic Hollywood beauty. Shelley arrived like a storm: messy hair, minimal makeup, and a dress that looked like it came from the bottom of a hamper. When she sat, her body heat carried the pungent scent of a long working day. To Shelley, it was natural, sexy, human. To Frank, it was a declaration of war. He tried subtlety. "Shell, want to stop by a perfume shop? I want to gift you something." She laughed. "Frank, don't be pretentious. I like my own smell. That's the smell of a real woman." Frank froze. He adored women, but only soft, fragrant women. That night, he couldn't relax. Every breath reminded him of freedom, but also of neglect. Afterward, they remained polite friends, but there was never a second date. Frank returned to polished, scented partners, and Shelley continued blazing her path, willing to sweat, stink, and sacrifice beauty for art. Shelley Winters ranks third on Frank's list, a testament to cultural conflict. For him, romance needed fragrance. For her, truth did. Marilyn Monroe, fried chicken in the boudoir. Frank Sinatra was the chairman of the board, but close friends nicknamed him Lady Lavender. He was obsessed with cleanliness. 4 showers a day, perfectly pressed shirts, and a constant scent of high-end lavender soap and cologne. To Frank, beauty wasn't enough. A woman had to be spotless, like a polished crystal glass. Yet the woman he loved and wanted to protect, Marilyn Monroe, was the exact opposite. In 1961-62, at the Cal Neva Lodge by Lake Tahoe, Frank often invited Marilyn to escape Hollywood's relentless spotlight. She was a goddess: platinum hair, porcelain skin, red lips that made men swoon. But behind closed doors, the goddess vanished, replaced by a reality that made Frank's sensitive nose recoil. Frank once confided to the Rat Pack, "Marilyn's a sweet girl, but Christ, she lives like a stray cat." Depression and drug addiction had left her lying in bed for days, indifferent to bathing or changing sheets. Imagine Frank, in his fragrant tuxedo, entering the luxury bedroom he prepared for Marilyn. He expected candles, roses, romance. Instead, his nose was assaulted by stale champagne, unwashed sheets, and overpowering fried chicken. Marilyn loved eating in bed: fried chicken, ribs, wine, all smeared on Frank's satin sheets. During one visit, she gnawed on a chicken leg, smiled, and casually wiped her greasy hands on the pristine white blanket before covering herself and going back to sleep. Even Clark Gable, her co-star in The Misfits, complained that kissing her on set was a challenge. Her clothes and body often smelled of old food. Frank loved Marilyn, but his obsession with cleanliness made romance a constant struggle. Gentle offers to bathe together were usually met with laughter or exhaustion. Nights meant lying beside the most desired woman on the planet, yet only thinking, "Is that ketchup or wine on the pillow? Why does her hair smell of cigarette smoke?" For Frank, true class wasn't in designer dresses. It was in caring for oneself when no one was watching. Marilyn, tired of the world, was like a rose left in an airless room, beautiful, but slowly giving off the scent of decay. Elizabeth Taylor, perfume overload. If any woman could make Frank simultaneously desire and flee, it was Elizabeth Taylor. The violet eyes versus the polished voice, the perfect power couple on paper, were chaos in scent. Frank loved minimalism, faint, clean scents, Mediterranean breezes. Elizabeth Taylor lived in excess. Diamonds, husbands, food, perfume, always too much. Her love of animals was the first shock. Liz didn't just have pets, she had a mobile zoo. Dogs, cats, even chipmunks roamed her apartment, climbing on guests and spreading fur and the unmistakable smell of wet animals. Some perfumes can seduce, some foods can delight. But what happens when a woman's scent becomes a force even Frank Sinatra can't survive? Then came the food. Unlike starlets who starved, Liz devoured rich, heavily spiced dishes, garlic, onions, and her beloved Chasen's chili. Frank, fresh from a triple shower and in a tuxedo, faced an olfactory nightmare: damp fur, cat food, and strong spices. He later complained, "Liz's house is like a velvet-lined pet shop. Beautiful, sure, but I can't breathe." Frank loved food too, but he knew how to deodorize. Liz didn't. She ate joyfully, letting garlic and onions linger on her breath and hair. To cover the chaos of smells from pets and food, Elizabeth Taylor relied on a weapon Frank could never beat: perfume. And not a dab, she bathed in it. Her favorites, jungle gardenia, a heady tropical scent, or bal à Versailles, a spicy oriental with musk, weren't subtle. She sprayed it on her hair, clothes, scarves, and even into the room. The result? Frank Sinatra faced a terrifying scent cocktail: stinky dog fur, pungent garlic, and sweet, suffocating gardenia. During dates, Frank often struggled to breathe. Leaning in to kiss Liz's neck, considered the most seductive spot, he was hit by a wall of fragrance. It wasn't sexy, it was overwhelming, causing headaches. He felt trapped in a tropical greenhouse, next to garlic soup and a panting dog. At parties, he'd scoot his chair away and hold his wine glass to his nose, trying to escape the assault. He never spoke bluntly, afraid of bruising Liz's pride. She always believed she was the best-smelling woman alive. This clash of scents kept their relationship firmly in the realm of friendship and flirtation. Frank needed airy subtlety. Elizabeth Taylor was a tropical storm, beautiful, fierce, and utterly overwhelming. Frank once quipped, "Liz is a wonderful woman to admire from afar or on the big screen. But to be next to her in a car with windows rolled up, you need steel lungs." Sometimes smelling too good is a crime. In this battle of perfection versus maximalism, jungle gardenia won, and Frank's nose lost. Mia Farrow, dirty feet in the hippie nightmare. If Frank Sinatra's life was a classic jazz piece, elegant and on beat, Mia Farrow's entry was a jarring off-key electric guitar. In 1966, Sinatra shocked the world by marrying 21-year-old Mia, with her thin frame and big innocent eyes. People wondered why a man who adored voluptuous beauties like Ava Gardner or Marilyn Monroe would choose someone who looked prepubescent. Frank said he wanted youth, but he was wrong. He didn't marry a young woman to teach her refinement. He married a flower child of the hippie movement. And that began the worst olfactory nightmare of his life. Frank represented grooming perfection: suits, bourbon, and expensive cologne. Mia was the opposite: meditation, nature, and rebellion. She hated French perfume, loving earthy patchouli and sandalwood instead, the scent of the 60s counterculture. To Frank, her patchouli oil was like dragging a damp forest into his pristine bedroom. But Mia's habits went further. She went barefoot everywhere, even climbing onto white velvet sofas and Frank's silk sheets. For OCD-level clean Frank, this was psychological torture. He demanded shoes, washing, civilization. Mia just smiled, saying he was too rigid. The final straw was Mia's hair. One day, she appeared with a short, jagged pixie cut. To Frank, it was laziness, carelessness, and chaos, not fashion. Their marriage lasted less than 2 years. Frank wanted a refined wife waiting in a fragrant evening gown. Mia wanted to meditate in India with the Beatles, where toilets were optional. Frank even delivered divorce papers to her on the set of Rosemary's Baby, a public symbol of his long-suppressed frustration. Mia Farrow proved that youth and beauty can't mask habits and scents that clash with one's world. Looking back, one feels more pity than blame for Frank. Beauty can fool the eyes, but scent doesn't lie. For a man who worshipped perfection, fragrant, clean solitude was better than a love that assaulted his senses.